Hello everybody, I'm here today in Westmoreland with Ken Lyndon-Dykes from Saddleworld, and today we're going to be going through saddle fitting, the importance of, and everything that you need to know to how to check your saddle and fit your saddle to your horse. So there will be a series of videos following on from this one, but first of all let's meet the very famous Mr. Ken Lyndon-Dykes. Ken, thank you for talking to us today.
Pleasure.
Now, how did all this start for you? How did you get into saddles?
Because I had an accident in an aeroplane and broke my back, and I was unemployed and unemployable. But I had a horse, and I was already a rider. I eventually became a 3-day event rider, and I started selling saddles mail order because I knew no better. That was the time when people used to just buy saddles from shops. So 17-inch medium will do me, and not good for the horses, of course. As I became more experienced, both as a rider and being in the saddle business, I went much more into saddle design and fitting horses, and see how that a horse with a properly fitting saddle will actually perform so much better than sticking any old thing with a number of rugs underneath. So that's how it started, and so now you have saddles which are really well made, many parts of the world, high quality materials, scientific materials, very carbon fibers and things of that sort, and they're lighter, better suited for the job. So no longer, if it's in a golfing term, you're not putting with a driver anymore. You have the right thing for the right job.
Brilliant. Now, you own Saddleworld, which is based in Kent, which is great for all of us in the southeast. But for everybody watching, where is the place to start? How do you find someone to come and check your saddle?
Go for a Society of Master Saddlers qualified saddle fitter. Now, that may or may not be a master saddler. It's important to know that a master saddler is a craft qualification, and making, repairing, cutting, etc. A very knowledgeable person, but might not know about horses. Many master saddlers don't.
So when you see, if you go on the internet, which is obviously where everybody normally starts now, and you see a master saddler, he is the guy that makes the saddles, not necessarily the guy that's ever touched
repairs,
the horse or
alters. That's true. Now, if you get a master saddler who is also a qualified saddle fitter, then that's really...
We're on the right road.
Absolutely. But other than that, a qualified saddle fitter will be somebody who understands horses, rides horses, understands and knows saddles, and would probably be able to do some simple flocking and that sort of thing, but may not necessarily be a master saddler. Okay. It's important to know the difference between the two. And should
you check for a qualification with the saddle fitter?
Absolutely. The society, it's the Society of Master Saddlers qualified saddle fitter.
Right. Okay.
There are things, people often call themselves qualified because they sell saddles. Ain't so. Also, there's a thing called a foundation course. That means they know a bit, but not a lot. Okay. So, qualified saddle fitter is a very specific thing, long training, and they really know their stuff, and they work for a particular set of standards. Also, there's a code of conduct. So, if anything goes wrong, you have the backing of the society. You have something to fall back on.
Now, if I was, say, I lived in Manchester or somewhere far away from where your base is, and I had my horse measured by a saddle fitter or somebody that knew how to do it properly, could I then call Saddleworld up and give you my measurements and you'd send me a saddle? Is that possible?
It's possible, but it's not the right thing to do. Saddles should be fitted. We send saddles to Outer Mongolia and certain parts of Alaska where there are no saddle fitters. Incidentally, we do go all over the world fitting saddles as well.
Really?
But basically, saddles should be fitted. If you have a lot of experience in measuring and templating, it can be done from a distance, and sometimes it can be done well, and we have done it, but we would prefer, if we're going to send a saddle out, because we keep a colossal stock, to a person, give them a discount on the saddle so they can then pay their local saddle fitter to come along and be paid a fee for doing it. That's assuming he doesn't have the right thing in stock, because many saddlers have shops and they sell hats and boots and whips and everything else. We have 1,000 saddles in stock.
And that's
no boots, no hats, nothing, just saddles.
Good. Now, in a while, we're going to make some more videos today that people can watch as a session, and we're going to get you to show us how to check our own saddles.
Good.
Which I think is really important.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
What happens on a lot of yards is people take advice from other people on the yard as to what type
the friend of the friend.
Yeah.
Boo.
Your worst nightmare.
Oh, God. My friend says, if there's not 3 fingers underneath... Oh, dear. It's, it's so
we're
ghastly.
Do it properly today.
We certainly are.
Okay. Now, tell me a little bit about how a saddle's made. So how does that process start?
It starts, if you like, we'll call it a chassis. We call it a tree. And the reason it's called a tree is because for a very long time, for many generations, even hundreds of years, trees were made of wood and with metal supports. Later on, laminated wood with forged steel supports. Nowadays, many trees are made of polymer carbon fibre, very light, strong materials, which can also be adjusted, which is tremendous help. It means that if you have a young horse that's changing a lot, you can actually change the shape of the saddle tree without having necessarily to buy another saddle. So that's the start. And then, of course, you have to add the panel, the flaps, the seat. Very skilled job, very, very skilled indeed. And sadly, certainly England used to be I believe, the centre of the world when it came to saddles. Now they're made in many places very well, Germany, Italy. I mean, that's always been the case with those two countries. But some of the emerging nations, I've seen saddles made in China, which are beautiful. And so nowadays, quality comes from everywhere, but it is something that requires a lot of knowledge, and of course many of the main manufacturers now actually make overseas for reasons of finance rather than quality.
I think another an important point to make, you touched on it very briefly there with people with younger horses, but horses change shape as their work increases,
absolutely.
fitness levels, and I think that's something else that
And
gets
age.
a little bit overlooked, and age, of course. So I think to get the message across, would you agree to keep checking it? How often should it be done?
Never less than 6 months. But if you've got a 3-year-old, that's going to alter very fast indeed.
We're going to meet a 3-year-old.
Yes.
So it'd be good to
A
show
3-year-old and the same horse in a year's time, or 2 years' time, or 3 years' time, can look like a completely different horse. And so it's really important that you keep in your mind the basic checks. And this, you can get books and leaflets from the Society, which can give you a thumbprint on basically how to do it.
To share the knowledge with the rest of the yard.
Sure.
Okay, well, as I said, Ken, we're going to move on now and make some more, but for the first initial video, thank you very much.
Pleasure.